Hi, I'm Tim Berglund with StarTree. I'd like to introduce you to a new product called ThirdEye. ThirdEye is an anomaly detection system that runs on top of real-time databases like Apache Pinot. Let me give you a little bit of background before I show you the product itself. Let's start with a source of event data, say in Apache Kafka. This is probably a part of your life, right? You've got events and they're in Kafka. You want to know what's happening with those events, so you ingest them into Pinot. From there, you're going to build applications that query Pinot to provide analytics to your users in real time. That's a solid architecture, but details matter. Take, for example, a specific category of data you might be ingesting: time series data. The world is filled with time series data. Website unique visitors, sales, sensor readings, these are all numbers sampled over time. They change and they wiggle up and down, and they have their own characteristics specific to the systems and businesses they represent. If you spent a lot of time watching them on a chart, you'd learn the patterns, and you'd notice when something looked different from the usual. That's basically what I'm talking about when I say anomaly detection, but who has time to watch a dashboard? Probably not you. That doesn't scale. And while we've all got anomalies to detect, should we all be building anomaly detection systems? No. You really need a computer to do this for you, because in a real-life system, we're not talking about a single chart. We're talking about highly dimensional data with parameters like, branch location, pricing tier, customer loyalty status, and things like that, that all interact with one another. It's not one chart, it's dozens of charts. This is a job for software. Let's get started looking at ThirdEye. Now, you can see in the configuration tabs that there's a basic flow to things. First, you need to connect it to a data source, which in our case will be Pinot. Then you need to pick a data set to analyze, which is probably just a table in your Pinot database. Next, you need to pick an actual metric to analyze. This is a field in your Pinot table identified in the schema as a metric. It's the field that contains the time series data we want to find anomalies in. Then you need to tell ThirdEye how to define the alert on that metric. At the time of this recording, there are 10 different templates that describe different ways to detect anomalies, and more are always coming. Let's look at a few of them. You get a super simple one like thresholds. You set a minimum and a maximum value, and you get an alert when your metric is outside of those values. Not lots of intelligence here, but hey, sometimes the pattern never changes, and this is where you can start. Holt-Winters is a type of exponential smoothing algorithm with a lot of really interesting math behind it. It looks at the historical data over some configurable look-back period, then predicts what the upper and lower bounds of the metric value ought to be. Mean variance is a simplified version of the same thing. Moving on to the subscriptions tab, this is how we find out that an alert has happened. ThirdEye supports things like email notifications, Slack, and webhooks to get started. Events are special date ranges where things in the world have happened that we know may affect our results, like maybe there was a holiday or we ran a particular promotional campaign or something like that. That'll be useful later on when we get into our data. Speaking of which, I've got a data set from Pinot onboarded. It's meal delivery order data. That's a great Pinot use case. And I'm going to create an alert to see how ThirdEye does its thing. I'm just going to paste in some JSON that's got a Holt-Winters alert pre-configured on my meal delivery dataset. I'll set the date range of interest, and I know this because I know at least something about my data. I mean, I'm pretending to be a domain expert right now, and I know that last year is what's important. I can preview the alert right there and see what the algorithm will flag. Now I'll click Create Alert and get things going. With the alert configured, I'll go back to the interesting date range, which is all of 2021. You see the algorithm has detected a number of alerts, with more happening early on in the history of the time series as it's learning the pattern. Overall, there are 13 alerts detected. Let's look at them in detail. Specifically, I'd like to see good old alert 44,604 from January 17th, 2021. And again, in real life, we'd be doing this with real-time data. This is kind of a training data set so we can get things calibrated. We'll get the detail view of that alert, and I'll zoom in on the historical context so we can see it up close. You can see here at the point of the alert that the current value, that's the actual measured metric value, is 13, and the upper bound of the predicted baseline value is 12.6. So it's just barely out of tolerance, but hey, it's an alert. I can remove the display of the alert itself there, that red block, or even take the baseline value out of the graph if I want. And you can visualize the upper and lower bounds that Third Eye has calculated for alerting purposes, which is well and good. But let's do some investigation by clicking on the Investigate Anomaly button. Below the chart, I see a list of the top 3 contributors to the anomaly. These are combinations of dimensions that have influenced the order count to deviate from its pattern. There's rarely a single root cause ever, and sure enough, here we see multiple possible contributors to the alert. Now let's drill down by looking at the heat map. This shows us each dimension we've configured in the alert and its impact on the metric. Darker blue bars, like the SFO branch code, are things that have influenced the metric in a strongly positive direction. Dark red, like the San Jose and Santa Clara branch codes, have influenced it negatively. The width of each value is how big a contribution that value made to this particular anomaly that we're investigating. Well, apparently there's something interesting about orders in San Francisco, so let's click on that. The whole heat map turns blue because the SFO branch is just booking a lot of orders on this day. It's having a good day, regardless of how you slice the data. But we can still begin to get more insights here. For instance, it seems like new customers are the ones most likely to be buying this day. That's what the customer has loyalty equals false flag implies, that they're recent signups. That's interesting. It also looks like they're willing to spend a lot of money. The biggest fee tier here is the highest bracket. It's $25 to $30 per order. That's also interesting. So something happened on this day that encouraged new customers to place orders and to spend relatively more money than usual on each order. Now, with my business ops hat on, what do I want to do? Well, I need to look at the Events tab and see what special events were going on this day, if any. Well, it turns out we did run a campaign that day. And honestly, it seems like it was a success. Maybe we should try that campaign again or expand it to other areas like Santa Clara or San Jose. Point being, we can start to take action on our insights now. That's what we've wanted all along. Now you know enough to check out Third Eye on your own. To get started doing that, follow the link in the description for instructions on how to get started. I look forward to seeing what you build.